Hello everyone, I'm here with the next installment of my bookshelf tour. So this video will get us from the mid 1600s all the way to 1930, I believe. I'm going to cover two shelves, so that means it'll be, pretty quick pace. I won't be pausing on too many books on the way, but yeah, I'd be happy to talk about any you see that you're interested in another video. So as you see here, this is where our last video pretty much ended off. This is the complete diary of Samuel Pepys. I was able to find all the paperbacks. I think all of them but volume 4 were in a bookstore, and I picked them all up, and then I ordered volume 4 on its own. So pretty cool there. Then as we continue, William Davenant's an interesting figure. He's Gondibert. He's also a playwright of the Restoration period. Been interested in biographies of figures of the Enlightenment. So Christopher Wren and Leibniz are important for that. Book on the Enlightenment. I'm still kind of iffy on this. I don't know if I'll keep it. I want to get the Jonathan Israel whole set on the Enlightenment that he has, and then Barclay. As we continue down, we have my Clarendon's History of the Rebellion. That's important for his prose style, but I'm also just interested in the side that was against Milton in the rebellion. Kim Man-jung, a Korean novel, Buddhist Korean novel from the 1700s, pretty fascinating. Or no, must be late 1600s. For some reason, I'm thinking of the year 1689. What is it? Does it say? 17th century Korea. I don't know. It doesn't say, but that probably sounds about right. The 1680s, 1690s. Then we have Waiting for the Unicorn, which is an anthology of Qing Dynasty verse, published by University of Indiana Press. Poems and Lyrics of China's Last Dynasty. It's an awesome book. It's really the best book you'll find on Qing Dynasty verse. Dryden, Pope, maybe my two least favorite of the must-read English language poets. I really don't like their hyper-regular heroic couplet style. I mean, I can stand it enough to understand what they're writing, and I can get something out of it, but truly this period, just after Milton, is my least favorite up until 1750s or so. We have Pu Songling. Pu Songling's The Emperor of China in a House of Ill Repute. What a title. Biography of Bach. Basho's Poetry and the Narrow Road to the Deep North. The Tale of Kun Cheng Kun Pham, which is a Siam's great folk epic, but I think, what is it considered? Thai. Yeah, it's considered like a Thai epic now. Although I'm sure it's not a strict distinguishment between, Cambodia or something like that too, but I remember looking into this because I was interested in Thai literature. John Locke. And then we continue, another John Locke. Giambattista Vico, David Hume biography, my Enlightenment biographies, Treatise of Human Nature, Euler, and then translation Gil Blas of Santillane, translated by Tobias Smollett. Tobias Smollett. Then we continue, Fanny Hill, History of Tom Jones, The Scholars, one of the later of the great Chinese novels, Voltaire, which I had fun teaching last year, James Madison, Lawrence Stern, one of my favorite writers of all time, and then on top here, we have an interesting book, A Theory of Natural Philosophy by Roger Boscovich. He's one of those polymaths of the I guess at this point it'd be mid to late 1700s. He's from Croatia. Modern day you'd call it Croatia. Then we have Cao Chin, the Romance of the, no wait, The Dream of the Red Chambers or The Story of the Stone are the two most common translations. And this is the Peking University Press in simplified Chinese. Another Tobias Smollett, History of the American Revolution, Buson, which almost rounds out my great haiku poets. I have another one on the next row too. Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire by Gibbon, the 3-volume Modern Library hardcovers. Kant, several books of Kant. I still want to get the Ernst Robert Curtius. My earliest work of Vietnamese literature, poetry of, I'm not sure how to say, let's see. I need to learn pronunciation of Vietnamese romanization. Arthur Waley's book on Yuan Mei, the most famous Qing Dynasty Chinese poet. Some French Revolution stuff, some Urdu, Mir Taki Mir, selected ghazals and other poems. And then we have, before we get to Goethe, rounding out my haiku poets, the Haiku of Isa. And then 2 out of the 3 volumes of Goethe. The third one hasn't been published yet, by Nicholas Boyle. And then my big hardcover set of Goethe's complete translated works. It's not his actual complete works, but it's everything that's been translated into English. Conversations of Goethe with Eckermann. Schiller, of course, I had to put them next to each other. And then Hölderlin, Poems and Fragments. 6 Records of a Life Adrift by Shen Fu. And then by Patrick Heynen, an anonymous novel of the early 1800s. And then I had to put these next to each other. Empire of Liberty, History of the Early Republic, and Juliet by de Sade. You see if you can find the connection between those. Novalis, Charles Lamb, Complete Works and Letters. I really enjoyed those essays a while ago. Haven't looked at them recently. Wordsworth and Coleridge next to each other, of course. I should have put Hegel near Hölderlin because they went to school together. Phenomenology of Spirit, Jan Potocki. I'm not sure how to say that either. I got to learn my Polish. And then Thomas Love Peacock and John M.F. Keats. Very good, very good. All right, and then we're getting to the end of this shelf here at the bottom. Schopenhauer, Selected Poems of Victor Hugo, which, yeah, I had that edition a while ago and it got ruined, and then I just finally replaced it, so I'm very pleased to have that. Heinrich Heine, I remember getting that at Moe's Books in Berkeley quite a while ago. Maybe it's been, I don't know, 8 years now or something, but Heinrich Heine is nice to read. Then we have Alessandro Manzoni, Walter Scott. This is really the only Walter Scott book that has interested me, The Antiquary. I haven't read it yet, but it looks pretty neat. Here, let me pull it out and take a quick look at it. So there's that. And then if you want to pause and read that, you can. All right, and then I have my Thomas Carlyle, biography of him, and Sartor Resartus, right next to Giacomo Leopardi, the Zibaldone, the Moral Essays. I also have his Conti over in a different stack, but rest assured I do have his poetry. Gogol, Jane Eyre, the Kalevala, Edgar Allan Poe, which I realized I don't have Poe's poetry. I had an edition that had it, but it got messed up, and I just have his complete stories and then the Unknown Poe. I kept this Unknown Poe because it has essays and connections of Mallarmé, Valéry, Baudelaire, and really, you know, Poe has been such a huge influence for the French, so I wanted to keep it for that reason. And then to round out this shelf, We have Roll, Jordan, Roll, Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, two fascinating works of American history, kind of revisionist history. And then Emerson's journals, essays, lectures, and Henry David Thoreau. And then here's a stack that would go on that shelf, but I just don't have space. George Eliot's biography, Moby Dick, Dostoevsky, Dickens, Robert Browning, which I got this so that I have a nice compact edition of Sordello, and then Charles Sanders Peirce, A Life. All right. Then we'll continue on to our last shelf of today. Some things are somewhat out of order, but we have Herman Melville's 2-volume biography that my brother bought for me. Some Melville Library of America. Der Grüne Heinrich by Gottfried Keller. First heard of that by W.G. Sebald. Of course, some more Melville, some Hawthorne. I had to put them next to each other, leg over leg. Longfellow, who was really one of my first poets that I got into. The 1860 Leaves of Grass is the best edition I would recommend. University of Iowa puts it out, 150th anniversary facsimile edition. If there's a facsimile, you got to get the facsimile. You know how that is. So we have this Library of America 4-volume set of the Civil War, right next to the Battle Cry of Freedom. And we have some late Russian fathers and sons. Nikolai Chernyavsky, What is to be Done? Major figure in the anarchist nihilist movements of the 1880s, around the time of the assassination of the Tsar. John Henry Newman, major influence on Joyce. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And I've really come to like these Broadview editions. I've really come to like them quite a lot. They have relatively unobtrusive notes, but it's just you can trust the text to be the right text. And that's what I like most about it. We have Ibsen's verse plays, Peer Gynt and Brand. We have Swinburne's Lesbia Brandon with a ton of apparatus around it. It's a huge book. It's like, I don't know, it's thick pages, but it's still like 600 pages, I think. The Tragedy of Man, Hungarian poem of cosmic proportions. War and Peace with an absolutely destroyed top there. Thank you. Attention to Detail by Amazon. Always appreciated. And my edition of Middlemarch, Folio Society. It's really quite nice. And Nowhere by Samuel Butler. I just found out there's a grocery store named after the book. Weird. It has nothing to do with the book. The Transformation of the World, Flaubert. I don't have an edition of Madame Bovary, and I've not read it either. Something I need to fix. I have my Wagner edition, Mark Twain, Tom Sawyer. Still have not read Tom Sawyer or Huckleberry Finn. And this book, Atlantis, just came out recently. You got to pick that up if you don't have it yet. Major poem of Argentina, Martín Fierro. My whole edition of Browning. Got Antero de Quental. Major influence on Fernando Pessoa. Sidney Lanier, the Georgia poet. The Georgia poet. He was in the Confederacy, but was not an ideologue for that. Of course, Dostoevsky, John Ruskin, Dujardin, major influence for modernism and stream of consciousness writing. Jules Laforgue, another huge influence, French influence on modernism. T.S. Eliot's early poetry is heavily influenced by that. The Mayas and Nietzsche for better or worse. Tom Hardy, Jude the Obscure, I've still been meaning to read it. That's really the Tom Hardy I'm most interested in. Gustav Mahler biography. If you ask me any given day, I'd say Mahler is probably my favorite classical composer. I'd have to say, yeah. There, you know, it's like number 1 and then 2 through 9 are all tied for second. But yeah. History of Physics, Quantum Generations, some turn of the century, fin de siècle, Baron Corvo, Rainer Maria Rilke, Book of the Hours, Peirce, another Catalan, One Day of Life is Life, Raymond the Peasants, this movie is coming out, Hugo von Hofmannsthal, and continuing on, we got 2 more rows. This is The Gods Will Have Blood, right before a history of the First World War, and it was published in 1913 by Anatole France. Pretty unreal. And this is like, you know, high modernism right here. High modernism. Got Joyce, Klebnikov, Wittgenstein, T.S. Eliot. Got the whole crew. Marianne Moore's early poetry. Those are my favorite poems of hers. Got Svetaeva, Thomas Mann, more Svetaeva, Trimalchio by F. Scott Fitzgerald, The Trial. Man, these are some heavy hitters. Los Contemporáneos, Hard Crane, It Just Never Ends, Does It? Cavafy, Drunk Man Looks at the Thistle, Alvaro de Campos, G. Andrade, Juna Barnes, Kurt Gödel and Wang Kuo Wei right next to each other. Has that ever happened in human history? We have Rakes of the Old Court, a Romanian work, and then recommendation from Andre, Pequeña Sinfonia del Nuevo Mundo. Virginia Woolf, my favorite work of hers. I still haven't read Mrs. Dalloway, which is down here. I have the Merv Emre edition. Marinetti, just sent by a guy in the Discord, good guy. And then Robert Musil. Vicente Huidobro, Mirlav. Still don't know how to say his last name. And last but not least, Robert M. Coates. Don't have an edition of The Eater of Darkness, which it's been published, but just don't have it yet. So, all right, this was a pretty quick one, but hopefully you enjoyed. The next one will be a quick skim starting in the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s. This continues 50s, and then we'll swing around quickly, and that is 1960s to the present. So hopefully you enjoyed. Death is a Gang Boss.